Welcome to the Oh Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
To Holiday Fest edition.
Yeah, Holiday Fest. Look at this, Mike.
Yeah.
This is very
That's a theater right down the street from our house.
that's right. Yeah. And Mike went and grabbed a couple shots of that. They were kind enough to put the show's name up on the marquee and a little tribute to Holiday Fest here at the Oh Brother Podcast. But yeah, getting in the spirit here, Mike. And I didn't realize at first when we decided to do How the Grinch Stole Christmas that we just passed the 25th anniversary of that
Yeah.
film. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
It came out in 2000.
Yeah, November 17th, 2000. So we're just past the 25th
Do you
anniversary.
remember the run up? I remember it was June or July. I'm in the
Mhm.
Pacific Theater in San Diego in they used to have those cardboard cutouts. They
Yeah,
don't have those anymore. They're just posters.
every now and then.
And it was a picture of the Grinch. It didn't show him. It just showed like the finger.
Yes.
And then the first trailer comes out. We're talking about Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Mhm.
Dan brings it up. And Jim Carrey's red hot at this time. Liar, Liar, The Truman Show
Ace
just come out.
Ventura.
Yeah, I see those films. Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, not my bag.
Right, but a lot of people's bag.
Right.
Quite frank.
And then he transitions into the Truman Show and then, Man on the Moon, and I'm liking him.
Mhm.
And I'm like, who better
Yeah.
to play this part? And this is when he was making 20 million a flick. And he
Mhm.
got 20 million for this movie
For Grinch.
on a
Yeah,
budget of 123.
yes, and it would go on to make almost 400 million bucks. I mean, it was
Yeah, and
definitely box office success,
it was the top ticket seller of 2000.
right? I,
Um,
I'm just looking because you okay, yeah, and then Bruce Almighty and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Those would come later, of course.
yeah,
Uh,
Eternal Sunshine, which I'm holding up, the best Jim Carrey movie out there,
in your opinion, yeah.
in my opinion.
For me, I think I first came to know Jim Carrey probably when he appeared on In Living Color
Mhm.
and with the Wayans brothers. That was in like 1990, right
Right.
around that time. He was on that from like 90 to 94
Yeah.
and just had a lot of like a Fire Marshal Bill and some of the characters that were going to be very well known from his stint there.
Yeah, and again, like, I didn't like that version of him.
Well,
He had
you mentioned
auditioned for SNL, and
Mhm.
they didn't take him, which, you look back now and you think, "That's shocking," but
Yeah, thank you, Lauren Michaels.
yeah.
Well, you mentioned Liar Liar, one of my favorite Jim Carrey movies, and it's a really good example of his range as a
Yeah.
performer. He,
Yeah.
as an actor, I should say specifically, because it's very, very funny, it's physical, but it's very dramatic at times as well. And he can do both. And he's been doing both from a very early stage in his career. It wasn't like Adam Sandler, right? It wasn't
Mhm.
until we saw him in Punch Drunk Love, even though he had the chops, went to school for it, trained for it, Lee Strasberg and all of that. But it wasn't as apparent as it has been in Carrey's early career. And I'm going to indulge in a clip, and later on in the podcast that emphasizes that point. But this is Mike Ron Howard, so no slouch behind the camera. Who,
Right.
of course, we could just sit here and talk about
I
his
have a
acting
personal
career.
connection to this,
To Ron
which you
Howard.
may not know. No, to this film.
What is
I
this your
worked
encounter with Jim Carrey?
No, this is my encounter with Audrey Geisel,
Oh yeah,
Theodore Geisel's widow,
yes.
who, is Dr. Seuss, Theodore Geisel, Dr. Seuss. I
Hmm.
met her. I was working at the Old Globe,
Mhm.
theater in San Diego. 90% of my job was working on The Grinch. She was an incredible philanthropist, did so much for the San Diego community, and one of the things she did was give them exclusive rights to a play based on The Grinch, and
Mhm.
Brian Grazer was trying to get the film rights, and it wasn't till Audrey Geisel saw The Grinch at San Diego that she consented that, "Okay, it'll make a movie." Yeah, there she is.
Mhm.
She was such a nice woman, so giving.
So you met her at
I
that
met
time?
her. Yeah, it was very quick, and she came through
Mhm.
the Globe one day, and she shook my hand, and
Mhm.
and and she paid for what I did all year long was work on finding the most underprivileged schools and we would bus them in starting, like, December 1st. We would fill the theater. It was a 600 theater
Mhm.
every day of the week. I think we did 6 days a week, and the kids would come on the bus. They would get a Christmas present when they got off the bus. They would be fed, and this was all Audrey Geisel.
Yeah, they were huge philanthropists, and it's interesting. And now she was his second wife, if
Yeah,
you go way back, but she was the one who basically, he's going down this road of going to school for English literature and all these kind of things. And, he's an illustrator. He's doing a lot of, political cartoons and stuff like that. And she really encourages him to go in this direction. She's a big,
yeah.
motivating factor for that. And it's interesting that you bring that up because Geisel Theodore was born in Springfield, Mass.
Oh, wow,
I
I
don't know if you
didn't know
knew
that.
that.
Nope.
And interestingly, he died in La Jolla, in San Diego County, which in that there's the connection of why you would have crossed paths because they,
Yes.
and I think the um what is it, Dartmouth in New Hampshire,
Mhm.
they named their medical school after him or them. I don't know if it's them together or it's just him, but as you say, very giving
You
couple. And
see his name around San Diego. She funded so many
there's
projects.
there's statues of
Yeah.
him, and it's
Yep.
so interesting that the connection between our birth state and also place that you love more than our birth state,
And
which
I
is
I don't
San
know if
Diego.
you had this experience, but me growing up, we used to get a book in the mail every month, and it
Yeah.
used to be a new Dr. Seuss book.
Hmm.
The Grinch, I think, is his most famous book, but the Who's, which are prominently in this movie, that wasn't their first time in a book. There was Horton Hears a Who, there was a couple of other books that the Who's were in.
Hmm.
So, it's interesting that, I know they made a movie, Cat in the Hat, which was god awful.
Well, that was 3 years after this with
Right, with Mike Myers.
and it was terrible.
Oh my
It
god.
it was terrible. I think they were trying to recapture the magic of this film, and it just didn't work. It just did
No,
not
and
work.
then they made Horton Hears a Who animated, and Jim
Right.
Carrey is a voice in that animated.
He's the voice of Horton. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Here's a shot of, Brian Grazer and Ron Howard, and of course, Jim Carrey is the Grinch in the middle.
Yep.
So, Ron Howard's got a very illustrious career, not only, as a child actor and then on up through his adulthood, but then certainly when he decides to get behind the camera as a director. We're talking about obviously based on the books by, Dr. Seuss and, Taylor Momsen too, who's in this. I don't know if you saw recently, there was the, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction
Yeah.
ceremony. Yeah,
Yeah.
and she and Jim Carrey reunited there for the first time in how many years.
Huh.
He was there to induct, Soundgarden into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and
Did
she was
she
there.
become like a hard rocker?
Yeah, she's got a
That's what I
band.
thought.
She's got a band called The Pretty
She played Cindy
Reckless.
Lou Who in this film.
Right, very well-known band, very successful band out of New York.
What'd you say the
Uh,
name was?
The Pretty Reckless.
Okay.
Yeah, the Pretty Reckless, and she's really good. She's really talented. But yeah, she can kind of she's kind of got that edge to her, but she can also kind of bring that softer side, when it comes to like the
Right.
vocals and things like that. So they've got some good music out there.
And
But
she was
here's
what, 11, 12 when this was
7,
shot?
7,
7.
7.
Wow.
So here's a great shot of Cindy Lou Who and the Grinch from the film, and then here's a shot of the 2 of them at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame
Wow.
induction. So
Wow.
it's just so wild,
Wow.
so
And didn't
wild.
she, like, have, like, black a lot in her face at one point? Like, it was really painted.
On the
Like, when she was first, like, rocking out, like, I
Yeah,
remember seeing her and I'm like, "Whoa, that's the little girl from the
yeah,
Grinch."
she's got a lot of different looks, with
Yeah.
that band, and, it's very adult. I'll just say that if you're looking them up on YouTube or whatever, but, so Jim Carrey, Taylor Momsen, I love to the story now. I watched the 4K digital,
Uh-huh.
and I'm assuming you watched the 4K physical
I
that you
did,
got.
yep.
Yeah, and
Watched every extra,
it's
listened to
gr
the commentary.
listen to the commentary. I watched all the featurettes. I watched all the deleted scenes. I watched the gag reel, all of that.
So we got a lot of info.
There's a really good, feature on there, Mike, that I was actually surprised because I don't when did you get that physical box?
A couple of years ago, and I'm gonna turn into a Grinch during this episode, just so you know it,
Okay.
because I originally bought it in Pittsburgh. Now,
Mm,
you were there, and at that time, there was competing formats. Blu-ray was brand new that
mhm.
year, and there was this other format, HD DVD, which Microsoft was behind.
Yeah.
And I liked HD DVD better. I liked their menus. They seemed to have more extras.
Mhm.
And of course, like the VHS beta, I picked beta, they lose. I pick HD DVD, they lose. I still have 100 of the discs in my basement.
I thought you got rid of those.
I had like 250 and
Yeah.
I got rid of them. I couldn't give them away, but I still have a player, so I've kept
Mhm.
some. But the reason I bring it up is because one of the worst HD DVDs was The Grinch. It
Mhm.
was so grainy, I felt like I was watching a VHS tape.
Yeah, well, the 4K
This is
digital is
this is
great.
excellent.
It's great, and
Yeah,
there's a featurette called 25 Years Later: The Gift of the Grinch, which it looks to me that was filmed this year sometime.
that's new. I didn't watch that extra because it's not on my disc.
I didn't think so because when you said a couple years ago, they just filmed this,
Yes.
and because Taylor Momsen is in it, like, current day,
Oh, wow.
so that's a very recent addition to this set, which is very cool.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw
very
it online. I saw, like, special 25th
Yeah.
anniversary edition, and sure enough, I'm like, "Damn, I don't have that extra."
It's a good half hour or more long. It's great. It's really
Yeah.
good, really good.
So you must have bought this on your own because
I
I
must
thought
have.
I gave you the digital
Yeah, I must have. It might have been one of those, 4.99 deals that I
that you
stumbled on
doubled up. Yeah.
on Apple TV, but, we talked about the budget and, how well it did at the box office. I was really surprised to see it's very low rated by both the audience and the critics,
Yes. And
including
by me, and by
including
me.
your pal Roger Ebert too. He gave
Yes.
it like 2 stars.
And I didn't read his review, but I remember it
Mhm.
at the time.
Yeah.
And he said something like, it just wasn't fun. And
Well,
I'll tell you
the
why
the
I
Grinch
feel that
isn't
way.
fun, hence the Grinch. It's in the name, folks.
No, but the this version of the Grinch with Boris Karloff, the cartoon version,
That
it's
isn't that's
that is a
n It
blast.
is not a blast. Now, see, I think what's happening here, and maybe that speaks to some of the percentages, if you give that any credence with the ratings like Rotten Tomatoes, it's like 59% from the audience, because I think that there's something nostalgic about the 1966 animated film by Chuck Jones
Right.
that there's no way this could capture, nor should it pretend to be that.
But it
But
does at about the 1 hour mark.
yeah, it's
It's
basically
it
a retelling of the animated
Correct,
film,
and
right?
that I loved that. That
Yeah,
was
but
the best part of the film.
no way. I mean, just the fact that the first whatever
The
half,
first
if you will,
hour.
maybe the first hour.
Yeah, no, I paused to see when they
Okay,
got into
that's you
it
need to go get
opens.
re
I will
book your
say the
appointments again
no, I
because
will say the first 5 minutes,
mhm,
I was hooked.
yeah.
Anthony Hopkins, your
Hold
good
on,
friend.
hold on, my buddy right here,
Yeah, there he
Anthony
is. Your
Hopkins.
good buddy,
Yep,
Anthony Hopkins.
yep,
Great choice. Great. He worked 1 day on this
mhm,
film. That was it.
yeah,
And he has a lot of, dialogue.
yeah,
He's not in the movie, but his voice is.
right.
He's kind of the Boris Karloff.
He is the Boris Karloff, except with
So
the exception of that Boris Karloff did the narration and the Grinch's voice.
right. And in the beginning, it starts with his narration, which I didn't know and I loved.
Mhm,
And then Carrey's like, we introduce Jim Carrey and he's eating an onion, right? And you can tell it's a real onion.
mhm.
And then he walks out on the mountain, he turns around and he makes this grin, which I did not know was digitally enhanced until I watched the extras.
Well, hold on. Let's pause right there, and let's take let's watch our first clip
Oh, good. I'm glad you
of the
have it.
episode of
I never know what Dan
the Your Brother
is
podcast.
gonna pull up for clips.
No, here we go. Short clip.
To me in the street, and their parent says, "You know who that is? That's the Grinch." And I go, "I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming." And their parents go, "Oh, I thought it was makeup." you know
And
It didn't
yeah,
need to be digitally
no, but if
enhanced.
you see it
No, I know it is.
and
But
they
it
show
needs
it
to be,
top and bottom,
and
they
that's
show it.
proof that it doesn't need to be.
But I agree, like, nobody else could contort their face
No,
to make that smile.
no.
So, bang, the movie starts, I'm like, "This is gonna be great."
Mhm.
And Dan, the next hour, I am bored out of my skull.
Now, what I will agree with for me, where it struggles is a little bit of the pacing. I think that, and there's quite a bit that was edited out of the film. If you look at the deleted scenes, there's a pretty good chunk of
Stuff that
content.
could have been in
I think it was a
that
good
I think
decision.
would have been better.
I disagree, but there's probably 10 or 15 more minutes that they could have cut out to tighten it up a little bit and
Yes.
help with the pacing of it.
Like, this shouldn't have gone over 90 minutes, and it went, like, at 145.
Right, but there was nothing in that first chunk that I thought was terrible. I
Well, I'll
thought that
tell
was
you.
great. I thought it was great. Here's the thing, and Ron Howard talks about this in the featurette that I don't think you have,
Mhm.
which is
Oh, he talks about it on
on the
the
commentary
commentary.
as well, but
Yes, yes.
using the that first part of the film to expand upon the values that Geisel
Right.
would expound upon in his books, right?
I
And
I get it. I get that they only had 25 minutes of source material.
right,
So they're gonna have to write
of
new
course.
material, but the baby Grinch stuff and the young
Oh,
Grinch stuff just
okay.
didn't work
It
for
did
me.
work. You needed that because you needed that origin story of to explain why the Grinch was the Grinch. In the animated, as we know, everybody that's seen it knows that it just starts off with he's the
Yeah,
Grinch and he hates the Who's and that's it. Well, how did he get that way, right?
I agree.
We need that origin story.
I think the idea of an origin story is correct. I think it's perfectly cast. I think the director's perfect, but the
Yeah.
story just didn't do it for me. I was
What is it about
bored.
that? What is okay, you just said you agree with all of it. What's the
I was
issue with it?
just bored that first hour. I didn't like who was the actress that didn't look like a Who? She had
Christine Baranski.
Christine Baranski. I didn't like her character. It was a small character, but I just didn't like it.
Well, she was the love interest of the Grinch. She's a
Right.
central figure in this
Again,
movie.
I don't like the love interest angle at all.
I thought it was funny.
And they bring it back at the end. And
Yeah.
just that whole I'm like, "Come on." And then when he clips out the Santa
Mhm.
suit, all of a sudden, I light up. I'm like, "This is the Grinch."
Yeah, because 'cause you're just looking for a retelling of a film that you grew up on when you were just a little
But I
tyke.
understood what you're saying and what Ron Howard said is they had to go back and look at Horton Hears a Who and look at because they had to come up with more material.
Mhm.
I totally understand it, but I think what they came up with was just dull.
I thought it was enjoyable. I'm not saying it's great. This is like a 3.5, 4-star film for me, somewhere in there, maybe 3.5, somewhere in there. And more of that has to do with, as I said, some of it, the pacing. I still
Yeah.
think it could have been edited down a little bit more. And I say this understanding, acknowledging that this is made in 2000, but some of the CGI was a little bit, mm,
Right. That I
so-so.
forgave all that given
Yeah.
it's 25 years old,
I mean, it
but
was impressive considering the time.
it was. And
So,
again, when you watch the making of it, the Cirque du Soleil, people getting involved
mhm.
made sense.
The
Like
Who School.
everything about this, when you watch the extras, I'm
Mhm.
like, this, how do they miss? And they missed.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, again, this whole idea of, as Howard describes it, this otherness and this bigotry, if you will, the Grinch is experienced as a young child. First of all, he's abandoned. Like, it's a pretty dark tale that they tell. He's
Yeah.
abandoned, and you talk about Christine Baranski's character. She's there as the sympathetic character
Right.
towards the
She felt
Grinch
bad for him as the
as a
kids were bullying him,
as a
bullying
classmate.
him.
Right,
Yes.
and so, she stayed kind of loyal and always saw something gentle and kind in him, and so I thought it played pretty well. I didn't really have an issue with it.
And it sounds good. Like you're
Mhm.
saying it, and I'm saying, yeah, that makes sense. That told and when Ron Howard's talking about it, it makes sense. And the sets were fantastic.
Mhm.
The look was fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just I was bored. I had no fun that first hour. I didn't
What's
smile, I didn't laugh.
You weren't really, well, I shouldn't say you weren't supposed to, because there's a lot of, see, Jim Carrey is one of, and I know you're a fan, but he's one of those comedians, like Mom, for example, doesn't like Jim Carrey, never liked Robin Williams, and I think they're very similar. They're very avant-garde sort of
He was up for
comedians.
this, by the way.
I know, that's true,
Yeah.
as was Jack Nicholson and many
Right.
others,
Tom
Dustin
Hanks.
Hoffman,
Yep.
Hanks, yeah.
Yeah.
They made the right choice, but
I don't think anybody else would have
no.
done it better. So
No, he's
I'll give you
so,
that.
yeah, he's so physical, and the things he can do with his face, it's just incredible. But, his humor, I think it's an acquired taste, and there's a lot of adult bits that he's doing
Right, and
right
Audrey
from the beginning.
Geisel had veto power over the script,
This is so
and she
interesting.
did veto a
Ye
lot.
Yeah, it was like for years, like, hands off that property.
Yeah.
Theodore passes away, and then she puts it up for auction, basically,
Well,
and Brian
it
Grazer swoops in and makes an appeal to her, and she's still not convinced. In comes Ron Howard, Opie from the
right,
Andy Griffith Show, and, of course, they're able to sweet talk her into this deal.
and I'm telling you, San Diego, if we didn't put on that play in San Diego, the movie wouldn't have got made because that was the first time, and I remember her talking to someone else and saying, "This is when I knew it could be made into a movie." She
Yeah,
even went to the set of Man on the Moon, one of other Carrie's great performances of
yeah,
Andy
Kaufman,
Kaufman,
yeah.
and he was doing method at that time. So he had to break out of the Andy Kaufman character to become himself and
Mhm.
then had to show her how he would become the
I
Grinch.
love how you're trying to take, somehow tie yourself into the credit for getting this film made. You don't think I know what you're doing? It's so ridiculous. It's so transparent. But
No,
anyway,
it is,
it's
yeah.
like, it is very transparent. But you talk about method. Let's play another clip here with Jim Carrey on the wonderful Graham Norton show. I love Graham Norton. Let's watch this clip. Speaking of method acting.
Weird. And maybe this isn't true, but you, Jim, did train with was it the Navy SEALs? Is that made up
No,
nonsense?
I did not train with the Navy SEALs. But what that might be referring to is when I did the Grinch, I was literally, the makeup was like being buried alive every day.
How long did it take?
The first day was 8.5 hours. And I went back to my trailer and put my leg through the wall. And I told Ron Howard I couldn't do the movie. And then Brian Grazer came in, and being the fix-it man, and came up with a brilliant idea, which was to hire a gentleman who is trained to teach CIA operatives how to endure torture. And so,
Now, to be clear, the makeup was 2 hours a day. It wasn't
Well,
8.
he just said the first day
Right.
it was 8.
But
Then
a lot
they
of
get it
people
down.
misconstrued that.
I love again. Oh, come on. He was only in it for 2.5 hours.
No,
Like,
no, no.
you got it in for this
No,
film.
no, no,
I'm
I
telling
don't.
you.
I
The
don't.
torture that this guy they
I
had to bring in
agree.
someone from CIA trained to help him stay calm and cool and collected getting this
And it's
makeup
not the
on.
2 hours.
Crazy.
It's the fact that he did it for 92 days.
That's incredible.
So he had to spend 2 hours getting into and they show it,
Mhm.
and then an hour to get out of it.
Yeah,
So that's 3 hours a day in the
right.
makeup chair.
And you know, this is where you gotta talk about Rick Baker,
Right.
legendary makeup artist. American Werewolf in London is one for me that always stood out. Like what he did with that character in that film is incredible.
That set a new tone.
The Thriller video, Michael Jackson.
That's right.
Just
That's right.
talking about him on the podcast. Planet of the Apes, Star Wars. I mean, you name it. This guy is the guy when it comes to this.
Yeah,
this
he's
craft.
retired now, but if you wanted makeup,
He's the guy.
this is the guy.
Yeah, and what was brilliant about it was the way that I guess they designed the makeup and the costuming to still allow for Jim Carrey's expressions to come
And it
through.
worked.
Not an easy task,
No, it worked. The
but it did
makeup
work.
I thought was fantastic.
Mhm.
It was interesting to see Rick Baker in the makeup, different
It
iterations of it.
Yeah, you know who else was in the makeup at one point?
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard
Yeah,
directing the
he
film.
directed a full day in makeup because he wanted to see what it was like to
That's
go
so
through
funny.
it.
And he's still got the baseball cap on.
Yeah, and there's a
Which I
great
love.
scene in there where Jim Carrey pays homage to Ron Howard,
Yes, he's doing
where
this
he's
little
directing
directing of
Max the dog,
right.
a real dog, not a CGI dog that they
Kelly.
got from a pound.
Yeah, Kelly is a she, and they rescued Kelly from the pound and did a great job as Max. Molly Shannon is another that's in this. Jeffrey Tambor. What would most
Another
people
guy I
know him from?
love.
Arrested Development, I suppose.
Him and Ron Howard, Arrested Development.
Right. Well, Ron Howard, yeah, doing interestingly, Ron Howard doing the narration for Arrested Development.
Right. And that was
Um,
him and Brian Grazer's show.
Yeah, Bill Irwin, a really great comedic physical actor that played Lou.
Yeah, he
Lou
was a
Who.
Broadway guy.
Yeah, he plays Cindy Lou's father. And Molly Shannon was big on Saturday Night Live at the time, so
Yeah.
it's not a surprise to see her.
And she
in
was
this.
fine. No
She was good.
problem.
Yeah, she was fine. It was what I found also interesting is Howard talks about this kind of Frank Capra like vibe that gets conjured up or maybe inspired some of the sequences here. When you think about, the disillusionment during the holidays and with commercialism and commodification of things and this theme, and you start to think about some of these movies like It's a Wonderful Life, and you think about even in A Charlie Brown Christmas, and A Christmas Story, right? Ovaltine, you got to be kidding me! A commercial, a crummy commercial,
Right.
it finds its way in here. And so I want to play this clip. I put this little short clip together. You'll appreciate this because it illustrates this point in two different films here.
Commercialism.
One of which we're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Remember this, Mr. Potter, that this rabble you're talking about, they do most of the working and paying and living and dying in this community. Well, is it too much to have them work and pay and live and die in a couple of decent rooms and a bath? Anyway, my father didn't think so. People were human beings to him, but to you, a warped, frustrated old man, they're cattle.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what it's always been about. Gift. Gift. Gift, 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 gift. You want to know what happens to your gifts? They all come to me. In your garbage. You see what I'm saying? In your garbage.
And I like the voice that he put on, in your garbage. But see, this is another brilliant thing, I think, from Howard, is this idea that the Who's have gone a little overboard with the commercialism.
And well,
that
that's
isn't
the
in
bond.
that isn't in the animated, and I think that's a really good addition here to the story.
I agree, and I say that because, like, that's the bond that Cindy Lou builds, because she's also thinking, this is too much about presents, and it should be about, being together and family time, and the Grinch shouldn't be alone. So he bonds with Cindy over the commercialization. And at one point, and they deleted it, and I think they should have kept it in, there's this store, Finkelman's or something like that. I don't
Farfignugan's or something.
Some Seussian name.
Right.
And people are buying, and the guy, is making money hand over fist, and and they keep Jim Carrey in an outtake keeps speeding up the music, and he speeds up the music, the whole scene speeds up, and the money keeps coming in faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, see, it worked for me. I thought it worked. The production design, you kind of alluded to it. Michael Kornblith, who's talked about quite a bit on the commentary and throughout the extras and things, very inspired by a very well-known Spanish architect, Gaudi, and then Meredith Boswell. They talk a lot about, who kind of worked hand in hand with Kornblith on the set direction, because they basically took up the whole Universal Studios lot. They're on 11 sound stages.
Yeah.
The scale and scope of this production was enormous.
And they still had to use like a blue screen, even though a lot of those mountain tops and whatever, they were real.
Yeah.
They were working on real sets. And, you had talked about the way Jim Carrey delivers. He went in and out of different voices, and one of them was Sean Connery.
I don't think it was intended. That was just a comment that was made, but it's very Sean Connery-esque.
Yeah.
For sure. He's like, the unmitigated gall. Just the way he speaks is so funny.
I really wanted to like this more than I do. There's parts of it I really like. There's a half hour of great stuff, but it's not enough to carry the film for me. And that's why I'm in the majority with all. I'm surprised, to be honest with you, because Ron Howard talks about testing and how positive people were.
Okay, but how do you explain 300 and almost 50 million that it did worldwide and on a budget of 100? At that time, I mean, it's not a $1 billion movie or what have you, but that's pretty good.
Well, like I said, when the marketing of this was fantastic. Like I was there day one at the Pacific Theater. I remember going downtown and it was jammed. And I think everybody wanted to see it and wanted to like it, like me. And I think that opening it starts so good, but it goes bad so quick. I really like. I think one of the things Roger Ebert said, and I might have already said this, is it just wasn't fun.
It's not supposed to be fun.
But I think the
There's
Grinch.
comedy, there's jokes throughout, but
Yeah,
it's a very dark topic that you're talking about. Again, it's in the name about the
right.
Grinch.
But
It's a
but
very
I
dark
watch
tale,
the
folks.
animated version with a smile on my face every year.
But it's a cartoon. It's and again, you're getting in touch with your youth. I mean, you were just a kid when that came out,
Right, right.
So I think it's got a lot to do with that as well, and trying
I hope it's older than me.
hold this up against what that was, and it's just not really
But
fair to compare the 2.
when they got to the source material,
Mhm.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I love that part of the film, and t again, one of the things that was cut out was when Sidney Lou catches him stealing the tree,
Mhm.
and he says, "Oh, there's a light on this tree that isn't quite right. I'm gonna take it to the workshop and make it all right." So, I'm
Mike
making that up.
Mike bringing his greatest impressions again.
Yeah, and
Same
to
voice.
me, he cut that. I saw it in the extras. I'm like, the way he slunk around stealing stuff, he captured that with Jim Carrey.
Absolutely.
And but he took some of it out, and I would have taken some of that early stuff out.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Grinch, the
Eh,
childhood Grinch. I didn't need any of that.
you definitely needed that. I what I don't want is just a live action retelling of the 1966 film. I don't want that.
And look at what Disney's doing now, right? Everything's live action.
Mhm.
And
Sure.
I'm not sure what came before the Grinch that took a cartoon and turned it into live action. I'm sure there was some,
There must have been some, right? But
but this is
this
the
had to be
first
one
I
of
remember.
Yeah, same here, same here. Well, given your favorable review, that we're gonna a sequel perhaps to this film? Is that something you'd be
I don't
interested in?
no, no, I don't because the source material's gone.
Oh, you know who would?
One
No.
character that you love an opportunity to play one more time?
Gosh, if we could figure out the Grinch, that'd be difficult.
I bet somebody will figure out the Grinch now.
The thing about it is that on the day I had to do that with a ton of makeup and I could hardly breathe and it was an extremely excruciating process. The children were in my mind all the time. It's for the kids. It's for the kids. It's for the kids. And now with motion capture and things like that, I could be free to do some other things. But it's anything's possible in this world. Anything's impossible.
How old is that?
That's very recent. It's just like
Wow.
yeah, and she feels the same way, right? She's like, "I don't think that's ever gonna happen, but if Jim calls me, there's a conversation to be had there."
Did you see now, originally, Ron Howard turned this down for a long time, even though his partner was Brian
Mhm.
Grazer and he
Right,
wanted to do it. Do you
right.
know who was gonna do it?
To direct it?
Yeah,
No.
Tim Burton.
Oh, yeah, okay, I
Right
might
in
have read
his
that.
wheelhouse too.
I might have read that, yeah. But
But
actually, yeah, he was working on Sleepy Hollow, I think, at the
he
time.
was working on yeah,
I think that's what
something.
it was, yeah.
Pee-wee or one of those.
I liked how Jim did the singing of, "You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch,"
Yes.
but nothing beats Thurl Ravenscroft doing it in the animated, and folks might know the voice as Tony the Tiger
Tony the
if
Tiger.
you're of a certain age, if you like, Frosted Flakes.
Great.
Yeah, they're great. So, I hear what you're saying. I'm certainly not as down on it as you are,
Right.
but that's maybe where that 10 or 15 minutes I'm talking about comes into play. You refine it just a little bit more, but I
Yeah.
still want the origin story. I still want the little Grinch. I thought that was although it was a little bit dark and kind of sad and stuff, it was
Yeah.
fun. There was still some funniness in it.
And, like I said, I get it. I know they had to do that. They had to come up, but I just and
Mhm.
I don't have anything better to offer to say, "Oh, they should have done this."
Yeah.
So, and again, there's so much to like, whether
Mhm.
it's the costumes or the performers and, the look, and Jim Carrey, was the perfect choice to do Grinch, and the irony, he's making $20 million a movie at this time. And then he starts taking serious roles. And I don't think actors are getting 20 million a movie anymore, right? Al Pacino got 5 million for Godfather, which was around the same time.
Well, and I don't know what, you look at the headlines as of today with like Netflix about to seal the deal on buying Warner Brothers. And then this, would Tilly Norwood, the AI actress that's out there, you know about
Right.
this, right?
Yep.
That is really scary. And that's, of course,
Scary.
what Sean Astin, the now president of SAG-AFTRA, is. They're all up in arms, and Hollywood's all abuzz over this because, and in circling back, connecting it to this with the CGI, look at where we are now with AI in the mix and what you can do. It's a pretty scary
I'm
proposition
scared
if you're in
for
Hollywood.
theaters. Yeah, and I'm scared for theaters. Is that
Well,
theater experience going to be lost?
I don't know. It depends on the content. I think we keep coming back around to this point, which is that just make good content worth going to see, and
But
we'll
even
see
when
it.
they do,
But
you know,
also, that's even if, I mean, look, the Kill Bill Whole Bloody Affair that just came out, that, I don't know, was a one night affair or whatever it was.
is it already gone?
I think it's already gone. It was
Wow.
a lot of hype about, but as much as I wanted to see that, because I haven't seen those films independently yet, you go and you're talking, you can't get out of there for less than $100. And that's if you're just like by yourself or with one other person,
Right.
between concessions
Now,
and the damn vessels you got to buy.
good Lord, get yourself an old brother vessel.
Get an old brother vessel. Yeah,
But,
they're cheap to come by.
you're right. The money,
Mhm.
we've talked about it, the aggravation you go through with people on their cell phone, they just won't shut them off.
That's right. I saw somebody post on Threads about that. It's like it was the concession amounts, the lack of civility. Those are the things that are driving people away from the theater.
It's
And
certain,
terrible content. There's not a
yeah,
lot of great movies.
and I'm one that will still go to the theater, but I get aggravated,
Yeah.
whether it's somebody eating a 12-foot hot dog like
But the
this.
but the things that are taking up the majority of the screens are not the things I want to go see, right? It's like superhero fatigue, Marvel fatigue, DC
And
fatigue. We've talked about it, right? Carve out a couple of screens at every local theater and dedicate it to independent filmmaking.
like I would recommend, the Grinch. Watch this, Eternal
Eternal
Sunshine
Sunshine.
of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah.
It's an awesome film. It's
Mhm.
great filmmaking. Michelle Gondry, Kate
Mhm.
Winslet. That's the film of Jim Carrey's you should watch.
Yeah, I do love Liar Liar though. I
Yeah,
have to
that's
say.
that's a good one
Do
too.
love that film, yeah.
It's a great premise, and he
Mhm.
pulls it off perfectly.
A split decision here on this one. I thought you were
Yeah,
gonna be a little bit more favorable about this than you have
I
been.
thought I was gonna surprise you by
Mhm.
being negative, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hadn't watched it since I got it,
Mm,
and so it had been a couple of years. And now I know why I skipped it the last couple of years,
yeah.
because it just doesn't give me the delight that I get from watching the Boris Karloff
The afternoon
iteration.
delight. I don't know, I think it's another one, like we talked about The Abyss, right? If you just, you gotta at least have and I know you do, but for those listening or watching, you gotta have an appreciation for what they were able to do to get this film made. I mean, it was a
Absolutely.
huge
And
undertaking.
again, the amount of people it employed,
Oh,
no movie's employing this many people
I
anymore.
I can't
Even
imagine the overhead.
like we've got Avatar, and
Yeah.
one thing I want to debate with you about the superhero fatigue, I don't have it. I
Mhm.
just want good movies. They haven't had a good movie in the last 10.
Yeah.
Just make a good one, and we're going to see when Avengers Doomsday comes out. The Russo brothers made the 4 best Marvel films. Can they pull out their magic again?
Yeah, I'm just not interested. I'm just
If
really not
now I
interested.
am, I'm looking forward to that. And if they blow it,
Mhm.
then I'm going to give you the superhero fatigue or whatever I'm going to call it. It's just they're not making good movies,
Yeah.
Disney especially.
Right. And that,
And they should have bought MGM, not Netflix.
mhm. Yeah,
But
this that Warner Brothers deal, what, $83 billion roughly, somewhere
83
around
billion
there?
and Disney bought Fox for 72 billion.
Right, and how do they cover that? You're going to fire people, right?
Yep.
You're gonna
Right.
eliminate
Duplicate
jobs,
jobs.
and then
Boom.
you're going to raise prices on consumers like us.
I can't
So
even imagine what the streaming costs a year from now are gonna be.
the one thing I will say about Ted Sarandos in response to this in the headlines this week is this where he talks about the one thing they don't love is the window, right? Of when he said we're not adverse to films being in the theater. It's
Right.
how long you have to wait to then get the film in your home. That I totally agree with, right? I
See, but the
totally agree with that.
problem is if you do that, and if I know it's gonna be 2 weeks and I can watch it at home,
Well,
then why spend all that money and go to the theater?
you gotta find the sweet spot. You gotta find some sweet spot, right, that kind of,
Yeah, that
persuades
doesn't
Mike.
isolate somebody like me that wants it on the big screen.
That's
And
right.
how many actors have told us,
Mhm.
or how many times has somebody like Tom Cruise said, "This has to be seen
Yeah.
on a big screen. That's why we made it."
We gotta get Tilly Norwood on the podcast and talk to her about this because, no, just kidding, but that whole AI thing is really where that lands, I don't know, because the things you can do with it in film, I mean, you talk about from a business standpoint, how could a film company not look at that as a huge cost savings when it comes
And
to making films?
think about some of the schools I've been affiliated with that taught
Mhm.
web design and 3D animation.
Yeah.
What are those people doing?
Well, hopefully they're getting recertified and retrained in this because it's not going anywhere.
It's a
And so
monster.
they got to find a way to be symbiotic. They got to work together and figure out how to harness this
And
for good, not evil.
we've heard people talk positive. There's a good
Mhm.
element to AI. Look at what you came up with for the Holiday Fest logo. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And you did that with AI.
Look
Yeah,
at
there
this.
it is. You did that with AI with how long did it take you?
30 seconds.
See, like a graphic design
That's
artist, that would
yeah.
take them a week.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, not that long.
Not that long,
All the
but
graphic artists watching right now are laughing at
yeah,
Mike
they're
right
like,
now.
"Yeah, this
They're
guy
like,
knows
"He
nothing about it."
exactly. This guy, he's stuck in he was talking about beta tapes at the beginning of the podcast. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. Well, anything else to say,
No,
good or bad here about the Grinch? You're a
I
Grinch on this episode,
I
quite
am,
frankly.
and I told you, I warned you I was gonna
Yeah,
be, but,
yeah. Well,
I just there
you're
was
entitled
so
to your
much.
opinion. Yeah.
Everything about this should have been a home run, and it just wasn't.
Mhm. Well, you didn't wanna watch this, but I'm hoping you wanna tune in and watch the next episode of the Oh Brother podcast. Mike, how can folks do that? How can folks who are not currently subscribed to the Oh Brother podcast
Well, you got a
find the Oh Brother
QR code
Oh, there's a Q okay,
suspiciously shown up there, and
so do I take this,
you
phone
take
device?
this gadget
Okay, and then I point
from
the
the
camera
future,
at the okay, and then
point
oh,
the
I
camera,
see,
click,
and it brings me
boom,
right to the Oh Brother
and you
podcast
should
YouTube
see
channel.
these 2 mugs right
Yeah, I
here.
I
You don't
do.
see
Look at
that.
it brings me right there. I
Bingo.
click subscribe and we're off to the races. Okay, that was easy. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. We're also on all podcast platforms too. So if you prefer to listen to us, then you can consume us in that way as well. And with Spotify, Amazon, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, please share the podcast, drop us some comments on the videos, leave us a rating on your podcast platform. Really helps to get the show out to more and more people. And we always, as we say, appreciate the engagement on the channel. I think, was it Ruth that just subscribed to the Oh Brother podcast? Um, Really appreciate all the support that we continue to see out there for sure.
Welcome.
So, yeah, welcome to the Oh Brother podcast. Tell your friends. Well, all right, Mike, that's going to do it for this is another thing too with this one. It's always the Grinch who stole Christmas. I think I always in my head That's how I heard the title, not How the Grinch Stole Christmas. But
Right.
anyways, here we are in the just after the 25th anniversary of this film. It was enjoyable to go back and watch it. I take your points. I do think that could have been fine-tuned just a little bit more to get the pacing up. And I
Again,
don't know about the
less
the-
would have been more.
I still enjoy the baby Grinch. You know, he's no baby Yoda, but I still felt it was necessary. So, all right, Mike's going to do it for another Holiday Fest episode of the Yo Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.